Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I'm Scott Sackett. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my other videos and subscribe, leave a review. I've been wanting to review this book for a while. I've had it, probably since early summer, but I've gone through it and I've gone through it, and it's so dense with information. I did not feel comfortable properly reviewing it, and I'm not sure I understand all of it. I certainly haven't absorbed all of it yet, but I think it's a good time to review it. And so I thought I'd leave a review. This is called Anatomy for Artists, Drawing, Form, and Pose by Tom Fox, or as he goes here, TomFoxDraws. TomFoxDraws is his Instagram name. Tom Fox has recently started putting videos up on YouTube. I think he's in the process of rebuilding his YouTube site, and I believe he has some online courses available. I'm not for sure about that, but I know on Instagram he goes by Tom Fox Draws. I discovered this book almost by accident. I saw it sometime in early summer. I received a card from an online retailer, let's put it that way, and so a gift card, and so I was looking at different books I might want, and I just for the heck of it, I put in figure drawing book. Now I have quite a few figure drawing books. I reviewed a few on my website. So I saw this. It wasn't cheap. I think it was about 50 bucks. Yeah, it's $56. I think I paid 50-ish for it. Maybe 45. I know it's more than 45, but somewhere between 45 and 56. I don't know what it goes for now. Like I said, I've had it. I don't know if I got it when immediately it came out, but I've had it pretty for quite a while. But I before I ordered it, I went to his Instagram page and looked at some of his notes and some of the reviews he had, or some of the previews he had, and I thought it looked really good, and so I ordered it. First off, let me say this: if you're new to figure drawing or new to drawing, this is not. I don't believe this is a book for beginners. The reason why I say that is because this doesn't go into a lot of the basics on figure drawing. There are other books out there that are a little clearer on some of that. This is a great book if you're intermediate or advanced. I'm not sure where I'd call myself, but I'm certainly not a beginner, and I think a beginner would be more frustrated by the information put in here. I like the book is very big. It's 11 and a half by 9.5, so it's a big squarish book. In fact, the one thing I don't like about the book is the cover is very flimsy. Now the binding feels solid. I don't think it's going to come apart on me. I've had it for a while, but the cover is so thin. I put a plastic cover over the top of it, and it's still getting dinged up, which is fine. Actually, the binding is coming apart, but I will freely admit I've taken this book with me on several trips. It's been thrown in my backpack quite a bit. I buy figure drawing books. You can see I underline stuff. I make notes on stuff. Whatever I need to do, I buy it to learn from. But I do wish they offered, because the book is so dense and there's so much information in here, I do wish it was offered as a hardcover. Maybe it is. I reached out to the publisher, and I never got any information about whether there was ever the intention of a hardcover, ever had been a hardcover. The publisher's 3D Total Publishing. They usually do a limited edition hardcover on their stuff. Maybe they did on this and I just missed it, or maybe it's only available on their website or whatever. But anyway, so on to the book. So the book, the reason why I think this book is so good is because it shows you figure drawing in space. Starts off with silhouettes, and it'll give you examples of what to do and what not to do. I'm trying to find one. But it gives you very much step by step. And it starts off in drawing a silhouette, and then it moves into proportions. And like I said, it gives you examples. For example, here's one set of proportions versus another, and it talks about detail. One thing I like about this is he's really good about don't over detail your figures when you're drawing them. he talks a lot about kind of building a mannequin, which is something if you're going to draw figures from imagination, you need to be able to do some of this stuff in your head or on the paper, figure it out. You need to have a system for that. He talks about flat versus 3D form. Again, this is not something that a lot of what I would consider entry-level figure drawing books or anatomy books, artistic anatomy books go into. But he all throughout the entire book, he emphasizes this idea if you want to draw in 3D to give everything kind of a 3D feel to it. Here's an example of what I was talking about. It says, don't show off. And what he's saying here is don't over-render your figure. You know, he encourages you to draw what you need to draw. And again, this would vary depending on what you were trying to draw. If you were drawing, say, like a superhero comic where you wanted to show a lot of musculature, you would put some more of that stuff in there. But if you were drawing like storyboards, you might not need it. I think, and that's where some of the entry-level books fail you, is they'll show you all the muscles, but they don't want to show you how to use them. And this book goes into that. And again, here he talks about different steps on drawing the figure. And it's funny because he has this organic mannequin, but he tells you this box mannequin actually works better. And what's interesting is if you're drawing, say if you're drawing like comic books, most of the people that you draw in a comic book, unless you're drawing just like a straight up superhero comic, most of the people you draw, this will get you where you need to be. You don't necessarily need to render them to this level. Now, I'm drawing a superhero comic, so I'll do some of this. But even then, when I was drawing my last comic, the characters were always in clothes, so something like this is more than adequate. Now, here's one thing I wanted to focus on. Tom Fox has, if you look at his Instagram and his YouTube channel, he has some pretty impressive videos of him drawing figures in perspective. Recently, Kim Jung-gi passed away. If you're unfamiliar with Kim Jung-gi, I would suggest you look him up. But he was, I've seen him draw in person a few times at some comic conventions. And when I say draw in person, he would get a large whiteboard and he would fill it with a scene. And he was great at drawing perspective with no grid or just figuring it out. And Tom Fox has some of that. He doesn't have quite the, I mean, Kim Jung-gi was like a savant about it, but Tom Fox explained some of that. And if you've seen those videos and you want to draw some of those scenes, I'm not saying this will make you do that, but it will show you the thing that you never see, which is this is what you never see in a lot of figure drawing books, how to put figures in perspective and how to think about that. And he has a whole chapter on this. He has a chapter on foreshortening. You don't see a lot of foreshortening in books, you know, and he talks about that. And like I said, he talks about perspective, and then he goes into the body and he starts the head, and you can see just all the notes. If you want a book that you're just going to look at pictures, this isn't the book. There's a lot of reading in this book. And he has examples of do this, don't do this, you know, do this, don't do that. It's showing how the neck is flared out. It's not just a cylinder. It's got muscles. He's showing all the, and what I like about it is, and one of the reasons why I say it's not a good entry-level book is because it talks about all the anatomy of shapes. And it's really good to learn the muscles. And there's a lot of books out there that will do that are not this intimidating, that will teach you the muscles. Not that you need to know all the muscles, but it's good to know like where they go and where they fit and that sort of thing. You don't need to name them all necessarily, but it's good to know what goes where. Like I said, I'm still in the skull section, or in the head section. It goes through the facial features. And again, there's a big focus on putting stuff in 3D. And again, I think if you're a beginner, this might be a little intimidating. I don't know, maybe not. I wouldn't recommend it for an absolute beginner. It just might be a little much. There are and depending on, you know, the age and that sort of thing, but there are other books that are better at that. Talks about drawing hair. Then it moves on to the rib cage, the torso, and it always starts out with a shape, and then it goes into the skeleton. It's got a lot about motion, and then it'll go into a little more detail in the anatomy, talking about the back. Let me flip through here so you can kind of see. And you can see there's a lot in here. This is super detailed. That's why I didn't feel comfortable reviewing it. And I still haven't gone through the entire book. But man, there's a lot here. If you really want to get in, I mean, this is a book that will reward, I think, a lot of study. It's just so deep, you know, and it's geared towards an artist that wants to draw figures from your imagination. Maybe I think, like, if you're a comic book artist, or if you want to be a comic book artist, I think this book is super invaluable. And if you've gone through, it reminds me a lot of some of the Bridgman books, because they talk about the form. They talk about the anatomy from a form standpoint. And then there's that German guy. What's his name? I reviewed one of his books. He's got a couple books that are similar, but this book is I don't know, it goes into more depth, and like I said, it's got the stuff about the perspective. It's just packed with information. Like I said, I have a lot of anatomy books. I have a lot of drawing books, and you know, this was probably about twice the price of a lot of them, even though some of the anatomy books are really getting up there. But I would say that this book is easily worth the price. My one quibble is I don't think it's super well put together. I mean, mine's starting to come apart, and it was pretty early, to be honest with you. When I got it, it was in kind of rough shape for a new book. The cover's a little thin. It could be. I wish it were hardbound. I wish there was a hardbound. If there was a hardbound available, I'd buy it tomorrow, because I think this book is that good. And like I said, it's a book. I don't know exactly where I'm at in it right now, but I have not worked. I know I haven't worked my way back towards the back yet. There's just so much here to study. But it's a great book. I highly recommend it, with the caveat you have to work the book. You can't just buy it and let it sit on your shelf. You have to read it. You have to study from it. I've done a ton of drawings from different things in this book, and I think that's what you have to do to get the most out of any figure drawing book, is study it, but this one especially. But I think it will reward you. I think it's already made a difference in the way that I draw some stuff. Someone commented the other day, but there was some stuff that I was doing a little bit different in the way I draw, and I think it came straight out of this book. But anyway, I highly recommend it. If you're interested in it, I would recommend checking out his Instagram page. It's TomFoxDraws, and check this book out. It may be right up your alley if you're trying to draw figures. It would. I think it's a great book. Anyway, thank you for joining me again. I'm Scott Sackett. If you enjoy this video, please like it, and consider subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Anyway, have a good evening. Good night.